Blake. We just got something come across the timeline from the great Marc Stein.
Yes, we did.
Does really good work at his Substack. That's it is a must follow for Mavs fans. And he tweeted something out that is kind of interesting when it comes to your Dallas Mavericks. We've been looking for the idea of some movement and some motion when it comes to this team in their offseason. And this isn't motion, but this is maybe a little insight into what the organization's thinking.
We love rumors. We love giving the Tolos what you want to hear. That's what you get when you listen late at night to the Get Right from the 571. Love listening to y'all on these late nights. We love talking to you on these late nights. Per Marc Stein, the Dallas Mavericks are reportedly interested in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but the Denver Nuggets may be unwilling to facilitate a sign and trade. League sources say there would be a mutual interest in free agency between Caldwell-Pope and the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks can only get into Caldwell-Pope's projected salary range via a sign and trade.
You said Marc Stein tweeted this?
Mm-hmm. Or is this in the Substack, and it's kind of
in the Substack? Got you.
Yes, sir. And it is believed that the Nuggets do not want to participate in a sign and trade with an interconference rival. Dallas just supplanted Denver as the NBA's Western Conference champions, even if that means losing Caldwell-Pope without compensation. The Nuggets, they're not trying to help the Mavs, but the Mavs are like, hey, we want KCP, and the only way to really make it happen is that sign and trade. But if you were to hit free agency, the Mavs and KCP have interest. It's just making the money work.
That's very interesting to me. Yeah, I think you laid it out nicely. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a player that they're interested in. So let's start there, first of all, that the Mavericks, like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if you're unfamiliar with his game.
The ultimate role player, the ultimate plug and play.
Yeah, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is very much that, 31 years old. He's a 6'5" kind of guard. So
I think Tim Hardaway Jr., but better.
Yeah, I mean, he shoots the ball decently well, can kind of run offense. He operates kind of like a combo guard.
Really good defender.
Really strong defensively, absolutely. Now, the size isn't there in a huge way to like guard like the wings that the Mavericks obviously, but having a defender at guard also matters for this team. But a guy that you can trust to shoot the ball, light it up that way.
Also, if they do this, to me, this makes Josh Green a lot more expendable. Now, obviously, the age difference, Josh, a lot younger, you could develop him. But just, I'm talking about what their skill set brings. He's pretty much Tim Hardaway, the best of him, and the best of Josh Green at their max potentials is what you get.
And kind of the best of what you expected and want from Dante Exum as well, right? But I think that speaks to kind of an interesting thing. Actually, before we even go there, yeah, I think that you nailed it on the head, the idea of what they were hoping. I think they're trying to look at, or this might tell me that they're looking at, even if they move on from Tim Hardaway Jr., they still want somebody to fill that particular role.
They want to score. They want someone who's, and if you notice, all the names they're being rumored about, for the most part, these are guys that have shown they can score. They're not trying to get another developmental piece. Now, the Tim Hardaway offloading contracts or the Quentin Grimes of the world, the Landry Shamet, that's a different story. But when they're making or winning these rumors for these bigger deals, they're trying to get someone who is a known scorer. They don't need another unproven commodity on this team. They got a lot of young, unproven commodities. What can they grow into? I think they're trying to figure out some stability, whether that's in the bench or the starting lineup. The 972. KCP's wife is from Dallas. I went to school with her. I'm sure she'd be really happy about that. All right.
I mean, that's an interesting possibility there, but another instance and situation where it's not going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy when it comes to trying to, make that happen or make that come to fruition, because as Marc Stein was detailing there in his Substack, as you were reading earlier, you're in the same division. Like, now you become a threat as the Dallas Mavericks because of how good you've been in the league, and now teams don't look at you as, okay, we can facilitate trades with them because they're not the teams that we're worried about. You're now one of the teams that teams are worried about, and
they're not trying to help you win.
No one's trying to help you win, particularly in the West. And so, yeah, that adds an interesting idea. But I found that interesting to kind of get an idea of what Nico Harrison and the Mavs might be looking for in the places where they're trying to upgrade. And you can tell, again, where their priorities are. Obviously, getting somebody that you feel comfortable with the basketball to help with that ball handling responsibility that Luke and Kyrie have. Somebody that can play defense clearly is very important for them. Someone who can knock down shots, right? And so I know that he shot like 40% from three this past season on decent volume, kind of like 4 or 5 shots a game from three particularly. But yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for bringing that through. From the 817, they asked, is Jeremy Grant still a possibility? I mean, in theory, but again, it's Jeremy Grant is a name that's come up. I think Tobias Harris has been kind of a high-end name that people have thought about.
Jeremy Grant, the pushback right now from what I'm hearing and reading is just we don't have the best trade package for him. Like he is still garnering a little bit more than the Mavs are able to give up, unless you want to give up one of your really good players like THJ, the Maxis, the Joshes. Like they're good, and we obviously, maybe not Josh, but are looking to offload those guys. But you got to think about the team receiving them. They're like, okay, we can get something better. We just saw what Denny Advia from Washington. A lot of Mavs fans were wanting to bring him in, and they were like, THJ plus our second-round pick. He's got traded for Matisse Thybulle in the 14th overall pick. Like these guys are garnering a little bit more interest. I would love to have them on our team, but it's going to take a pretty penny to get these guys. And I think some of the guys on the Mavs are just not willing to give up. And Nico has been writing most of those right.
And it wasn't Matisse Thybulle, it was Malcolm Brogdon. But point still remains, like you got a first-round pick as well in that situation. So, yeah, no, interesting kind of rumor that came up in the course of that.
Marc Stein saying that the Mavericks will investigate the viability of trying to get Klay Thompson. We talked about that from a signing perspective. Look, if he wants to take a shockingly dramatic pay cut, sure. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. That doesn't feel very likely.
The way that I'm reading this, and I'm just throwing out my opinion here, is the Mavericks are deciding right now, do they want to offer the mid-level to Klay Thompson or do they want to offer the mid-level to Derrick Jones Jr.?
You think Klay takes the mid-level?
I don't think he wants to.
But he might have to,
if the Mavericks are interested, I guess you could try to pull off a trade with Maxi Kleber being your main contract, but he's at $11 million, which is mid-level. You traded Hardaway away, so you could add, I guess there was the report of the Mavericks were listening or at least throwing out the name Josh Green yesterday, which once next year starts, is he at 14 million next year?
Something like that is correct.
So, I mean, I'm not crazy about paying Klay Thompson $25 million a year if you traded them Kleber and Josh Green for 3 years, $75 million on Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that.